Believe that, you put out the intention you want to receive. You say you want something from the earth, and you have to put in the work and the effort yourself, but the earth will help you get to where you want to go.
Hello, welcome to another episode of Atheist Vanguard. I am Derek Hawke.
I'm Rachel Watson.
And I'm Jim Barrows.
All right, let's jump into today's interview.
Welcome to the Atheist Vanguard. My name is Ben Esteville, and today I'm speaking with...
Matthew.
Matthew, nice to meet you, sir. Today we're asking people about their faith beliefs, their traditions. So what would you say your beliefs are?
Man, it's kind of a mixture of a lot of things. I believe in the power of self and one's ability to get things done, but I do also believe that there is a greater force acting outside of us. I believe in Mother Earth and the forces that act around us and such.
So would you say that force's name just in general is Mother Earth? That would be like the...
Yeah, it would just be the entirety of everything that operates here on this planet.
Now, have you seen anything that would suggest that that was the case? There's any kind of experiences you've had that could maybe sway someone who doesn't believe to believe?
No, it's really just been a personal experience, and I kind of believe that's how everybody's faith is to them. It's what they believe and what they hold true to themselves, and I could tell y'all a few things that may or may not have been, for lack of better words, supernatural coming from outside of this place, but it's ultimately up to you and what you believe in.
Would you be able to tell us a little bit about the supernatural?
Not in the sense of ghosts and sprites and what have you, but in the sense of the forces I believe that act here on Earth. Yeah, I believe that, you put out the intention you want to receive. You say you want something from the Earth, and you have to put in the work and the effort yourself, but the Earth will help you get to where you want to go.
So you can ask, but you're not just going to get it delivered to you with a bow, right? You gotta work, you gotta put in a little effort.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's everything, If you get something that's handed to you, it's not going to be permanent, and it's more than likely not going to be as satisfying as something that you get that you work for yourself.
That you earn.
That you earn, yes.
Okay. Do you have any examples where something outside of us, maybe in the supernatural, was acting in a way that you could describe that was supernatural, miraculous?
So currently I'm trying to get my music career started. Right now I'm a nobody, but this week and the past week I put out the intention to meet more people, more like-minded musicians, people trying to get their own thing started. And I do have to say that if there wasn't something operating outside of us, I wouldn't have met several people who were on that same path, who did believe the same thing.
Do you think music is a gift from Mother Nature? Or do you think that's an innate thing that we just as human beings have elevated and it's just part of who we are? Because I don't know of any musical animal acts at this point.
I'd believe that would be something more so from the universe, not from Mother Earth.
So can you describe that? Do you think you could...
Oh man, no. It's something I just believe in, man. It's something I've seen happen and something I feel operates and works and is true. And
do you think the universe gave us this gift of music, but other animals on the planet just don't possess it? Or do you think that, what do you feel about that?
I believe there's a level of sentience that has to come with that. It's not just anybody like a human can pick up an instrument and learn to play it if they put in the time and the effort, but I don't believe animals who lack the prefrontal cortex would be able to perform such tasks. They wouldn't have such an understanding.
What if we found animals that could play the drums? Let's say bongos, right? Let's keep it in possibility. Mm-hmm. Let's say, would that signal anything different to you about the universe?
No, I think that would signal something different about that animal and that species and where they are as far as evolving. I believe music is something that's obtained through evolution.
So eventually we can rock out with the chimps. We can have a band called the Monkeys or something.
Right, and it'd actually be a group of monkeys, yes.
Yeah.
So I do believe at some point in time animals will evolve and get to that point, yes.
Interesting. Do you have any thoughts about the further evolution of mankind? We're at a certain level now, but there's always somewhere else we could go. If you're looking in the future, what do you see?
Man, future makes me anxious. All I think about, man, is the next step for us with the damage we're doing to ourselves and the uncertainty we're facing on nearly an everyday basis. The next place for us to go would just be to a digital world. You know, there was talk of Elon Musk and something about Neuralink, and I believe that that's highly probable. Whether we'll see it here in our lifetime or not, I don't know. And as far as the facts and the science behind it goes, I don't know. But
what do you think that would do to the spiritualness if we were plugged in 24/7 into the Matrix?
it would definitely decrease a lot of things. At least in my opinion, I feel like people would want something that instant and then they'd be able to achieve it nearly that instant. So it would kind of take away the gratitude and the feeling of success one would get. I believe that has to go hand in hand with spirituality, is the work that you put in. So if you get something instantaneously, you know, there's no joy, there wouldn't be much happiness behind it, you wouldn't have much of a feeling of fulfillment. So I definitely do believe that taking things into a digital world, becoming some kind of cyber-human hybrid, something like that, you know, I definitely do believe that would take down spirituality quite a bit.
Okay, I'm going to give you the final word before we wrap it up. Anything else you want to say?
Don't do drugs too often.
Thank you, Matthew. It's been a pleasure. Have a great day.
You as well.
All righty. Well, some good intentions there.
Yeah. Good
Let's
advice.
start off. Rachel, what do you think about the power of self? So he talks about this power of self, this Mother Earth, in supernatural terms.
Right. That's the objection.
Yep.
Like, I believe in the power of self, but I think it's just our own kind of like self-empowerment. It's not anything that you know, the earth controls, or Mother Earth, or Gaia, or God, or deist God, or whatever. It's just ourselves. We're the ones that do it. You know, if we go to a doctor, the doctors are the ones that helped us, not God. Stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Jim, on this guy?
I don't think he defined power of self very
Yeah.
well. We're kind of assuming that he means something supernatural by it, but he may very well not.
Yeah.
I mean, he did that with a lot of terms in there. We're like, let's define these a little bit more so we know we're all on the same page. But I mean, believing in yourself that you can accomplish the things that you want to accomplish is kind of fundamental to accomplishing anything, right?
Yeah. It's positive thinking.
Well, it's not just, no, I don't think it's even necessarily positive thinking, which has got its own problems, but it's just, hey, I can figure this out. I may not know how to do this. For instance, I'm trying to figure out an engine. I have no idea about diesel engines, but I'm learning a lot as I go.
Yeah.
And I know that eventually I'm going to puzzle it out.
Right.
Right.
Well, let me ask you this, and this kind of early, a little bit later in our conversation, but so you were trying to learn engines, and you put out the intentions to the universe that you're trying to learn engines, which may include people that know engines. Is there some deity that is is the universe intervening in some supernatural way?
No.
But this is what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. And you know, that's elements of The Secret. I don't know if you've seen that. It's a really, really great woo video. And I say great as in it's well done and gets its point across regardless of the fact that its point is meaningless. But there's a lot of this, you know, you put the intention out there and it'll come back to you. And really that's just focusing.
Yep.
Right?
And networking.
Yeah, and I think that doing things like a dream board and something that you look at every day to remind you what your dreams are and what you need to do works. But it's not a supernatural thing. It's not putting the intention out there. It's staying focused on what you want.
Right.
Because it's so easy to get unfocused with what you really want to do. If you really want to change jobs and you get lost in the day-to-day of your current job or your current career, and it's easy to do that when you've got family and friends and you know, all these different commitments pulling you in different ways.
A steady paycheck.
Yeah, if you don't have that thing to remind you what you really want to do every day, and you don't take some time every day to remind yourself, hey, I may not have been able to work on this today, but you know, I really needed to do this, and you've got that list, you do the work. That's really what the important thing is. There's no supernatural.
Now, Rachel, do you think like some people take because it was like I want the universe to give me what I need or what I want. Do you think it's just like some failing on their part that they feel that they can't accomplish this? That you know, because I've heard of the dream boards, I've heard of this, but there's also this reliance that some outside energy is going to hear this call of yours and help you make these come true.
Yeah, I mean the way he had put it was that, you know, he had a personal experience from what I could tell, and he said it's just what people believe, and it's not like ghosts or anything. It's just this putting good intentions, which is almost kind of like a karma thinking. Like,
Yeah, that's exactly what's coming to mind. Yep.
It's like, oh, if I put out my good intentions, the universe will in turn like give me the good stuff. But if the universe is sentient, what could it? It could give you bad stuff if you put good intentions out.
The universe is not a vending machine.
Yeah, right. Cosmic vending machine.
Yeah, it's just and that's what I think a lot of people think it is.
Right.
That it's some sort of giant vending machine.
Yeah.
And it's not.
And I've heard of dream boards. I've never done it. What I use is a jump to conclusions mat.
Okay.
And
How does that work?
Office Space humor. You just put your intentions on the mat and then you jump to conclusions.
Oh, okay.
No. Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's, some of it too is that phenomenon, I forget what it's called, where when you buy a car, all of a sudden everybody's driving the same car. It's no longer as unique as you thought it was.
right.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of sensitivity to things too. When you start focusing on the things that you're looking for, the mind is a pattern seeking
Right.
system. And so if you give it the patterns you're looking for, your brain will find those patterns. It's not supernatural. It's psychology. It's the way the brain works.
So you think this guy is kind of like merging these intentions with some supernatural energy that exists out there that is waiting to listen to our beck and call?
I don't think he's thought about it enough to know exactly what he believes.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's generally when they start using words like spirituality and intentions, and they start using these really ill-defined words to describe what they believe. I think it's safe to say that once you start trying to nail them down, that they're not going to get nailed down, because they don't know what they mean, especially with spirituality. I mean, I've had dozens and dozens and dozens of conversations trying to nail down what someone means by spirituality. And there is no good definition.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, let's back up for a second. Let's go to the next topic. And this kind of goes into line, the universe as an entity or some type of consciousness.
Right.
What do you, Rachel, take us on that. What do you think about that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think in context of the video, that's part of the problem is that you got kind of this loose thinking, loosely defined / undefined, universe as an entity or Mother Earth as an entity kind of thing. And I used to think a little bit like that. Once I was kind of out of my Christianity, I kind of had that deism step to my atheism. And it's not exactly like a progression where you do that, but it's very common that people step out of their religion, but they just can't let go of supernatural thought like that. But yeah, once you realize it, it really clears things up in your mind that, there's no like hope that you put out and like, oh, I hope the universe will bestow on me this gift of whatever.
It seems like reality is a little bit nihilistic in that kind of like the belief is like, well, really, what does the universe owe me? Or what can I do that would influence the universe to do things my way?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he kind of puts that in there where he put out his intentions to meet musicians. And if he didn't put out that good intention, he wouldn't have met people on the similar path with similar beliefs and stuff like that. And I don't know. It's just like when I was trying to learn, a new board game, like card game, I would hang out with friends that played it.
Right.
Like it's not me putting my good intentions to learn this game. I just wanted to learn it. So I, got around friends that played it and we played it a bunch and, I got a good feeling for it and everything. It's just
So how's the universe treating you on your quest of engine learning?
The universe, I mean, Google and YouTube are great.
YouTube's got everything.
And also because I've started hanging around with other people who own sailboats, I find that I'm getting more information and meeting more people who can help than if I didn't. And so when he says he's putting out good intentions, I'd really like to know what that looks like to him. Is he waking up every morning and going, okay, I want to do music. I want to do music. What does that look like? And then how does that affect the rest of his day? If before he put that, quote unquote, put that intention He wasn't thinking about music as a career, and he wasn't talking about music, and he wasn't playing as often, and he wasn't hanging around musicians. And then all of a sudden he says, I want to put this intention out in the world, and yet he changes his behavior.
Right. That's the key. Yeah.
That's kind of the key to me is, well, you changed your behavior. And he kind of admits that. He says, you've got to do the work.
Right.
Then if you're doing the work, how is the universe helping?
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, most humans want to be helpful. We want to help people whenever we can.
For the most part.
Yeah. There's a few exceptions, but
A few exceptions.
yeah.
Especially in a in a career that's music based, that basically you are appealing to people's emotional reactions to your product.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's where I was going to go with that before, was that, he's doing the thing where he's putting in the work, but giving the universe or Mother Earth the credit.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
It sounds very familiar. Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah. Thoughts and prayers. And it's kind
thank
of.
God he healed me from this cancer that would ravage me, and I had to go through years of chemotherapy and physical therapy, blah blah blah. But thank God.
Yeah, I mean, it literally happened to me, and it was weird. It was weird to think that way, and then to look back and think that again, and I just couldn't, because you can't put yourself like 100% back into your believer shoes. But at least you can pull that experience that you had before, that I was ill for years, had surgery done, and then we thank God for me getting better.
Was there any, during this time period where you're physically ill, going through, not feeling well, were there instances where you believed you felt the presence of God, or believed that there was some divine intervention in your process of healing or going through these trials?
I mean, that I ascribed to it then, yes, but when I look back now, it was just, my mom never gave up. She kept taking me to doctors, take me to psychiatrists upon recommendation, and
but nothing supernatural that you would at that time.
At that time, like I was praying every day.
Yeah.
I was still a Christian, so I was praying.
So when you got better, did you label that as being healed, or you recovered?
Both, actually.
Okay.
Because
I'm glad you understood the question, because as I was formulating, I was like, how do I ask this?
Yeah.
Because again, you're healed, but then I believe, even Christians believe that you can get better, that you can recover from a cold, from a disease or whatnot.
Right.
And of course they do attribute both to God or some, divine intervention.
Right.
But, as far as your terms, were you healed, or did you get better through this endurance and and your faith?
Right. That the supernatural aspect of it is kind of how I thought I got healed, is that I thought, because we spent like 3 years in Arizona going to different doctors and mental health professionals and found nothing. And then my mom, kind of at her wit's end, tracked down to our old pediatrician, and he said to bring us to Scott and White, which is a pretty big hospital and temple and all around Central Texas, but or take me to Arkansas. And we went to Scott and White and got diagnosed in like 2 days. Granted, they had all the history of what didn't work, so they knew what to do. But you can kind of give it to them. But we felt like God led Mom or whoever, whatever.
Just like this guy would believe the universe led him to. Yeah. Jim, did you have anything supernatural that, or any
No, I mean,
did it feel supernatural when you turned the key and the engine fired up a little bit?
No,
because you came up from a religious belief, right?
Working.
But I was never deep into. I mean, my journey out of Catholicism was long, only because I wasn't focused on it,
right?
And so I was never a really, really strong believer in anything, but. I remember, quote unquote, waking up one night and with a cat playing around my legs while I was sleeping in bed. And I didn't have a cat or a dog or any animal. And I couldn't figure out what it was. And I also couldn't figure out why I couldn't move. And then my brain kind of went, oh, yeah, sleep paralysis. I'm in that weird state. And then it was kind of like, oh, this is kind of fun. because I could play with it a little bit, and then eventually I woke myself up enough where I could move.
That freaked me out.
Yeah.
I've never had that experience, but that would just scare me.
They are interesting.
Yeah. And, you get these random connections, like your mom at her wit's end just called the pediatrician.
Right.
We kind of discount those types of things where we don't realize how much we talk about something or when we say something. And the more we talk about it, the more you spread that information out to your network of folks. The more that network can put it out to their network, and the more likely you are to get information back you need.
Right.
That's not supernatural.
No.
That's just the network effect.
Yep.
Right.
And it is easy, I think, to attribute those types of random coincidences. I just happened to meet a guy who knew how to solve this.
Right.
And that has to be God put him in my path. Well, no, you went out and started talking to people, and you felt like you had to talk to somebody, and it's easier to talk to strangers, and coincidences happen. And it is amazing what people know and who they know.
Right.
We're only 6 degrees of separation from anybody on the planet. And that's not a lot of separation.
Yeah.
It's not.
So it can look like random chance, but really, if you just start trying to get as many connections to yourself as possible, you can find what you need.
Right.
And most of us don't do that investigation. If something coincidental happens, a lot of people generally will say like, oh, it's the universe, or it's some kind of whatever. And we don't take the time to say, okay, well, how did you know that? Where did you get that from? And you definitely would be able to find an audit trail back to something that is more logical and reality based. Let's jump topics real quick and talk about music.
That was interesting.
So, and again, a lot of these things make sense to me when he told me that he was a musician, because again, we're talking about a product that that really tingles those little emotional strings.
Right.
It is, have you ever heard a song and you'll be like, oh, that song is about me.
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
And I'm a big Nirvana fan. I love Nirvana.
Oh, yeah.
And Nirvana wrote songs in such a way, and we've talked about this in other things, where it's so cryptic and so unintelligible that it means nothing and everything at the same time. Whereas it can mean something to you and absolutely nothing to me, or it can be like, oh my God, that is exactly me. And that's the beauty of music, and really interesting.
Well, and rhythm and music all plays on emotions and alters brain states. And for good or
trances.
For bad. Yeah. So, I think music is, and to say that animals don't do music, maybe he hasn't heard the right birds sing.
Right.
Maybe
Whales.
he hasn't, whales, dolphins.
Well, it's the same thing. Like, if you go to a haunted house, they're not playing 80s synth pop.
Right.
They're going to be playing like sounds that are
Haven't you
get you in that creepy mood.
Right.
Haven't you gone to the Rad Haunted House?
Right? Right? Where they have like a room you walk into and it's got like a Jubilee character with a yellow leather jacket and glasses and playing synth pop and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure.
The 80s was a horror time for me anyway. Anyways, music and animals. Yeah. Dolphins. Whales
for sure.
I'm not sure, and people can correct me, but I've seen little little videos of the dancing spider that.
Oh yeah,
really cute.
Yeah.
Well,
that's their little dance. They don't.
Yeah, they're actually modifying the tempo of the spider to
but
the
it
tempo
still is a
of music.
dance. You have certain birds that do dances.
For sure.
Chicken
There's a
struts.
peacock sanctuary here, and beautiful. Like it's got this, somewhat odd-looking bird, and all of a sudden it's like, fans out their tail feathers, and you're just like, whoa, like, dang.
So in a way, it begs the question, is the term music subjective as well? Because we have natural phenomena that create melodies and tunes. I don't know if you heard the radio transmissions from Saturn. It's eerie, but it's very musical.
Well, there's actually a definition of music that musicians use. You got to have rhythm, melody, and harmony. You have to have those things in order to be considered music.
Are they all three a requirement?
All three are a requirement. So you can get into trouble if you say rap is not music, because it is mostly a rhythm.
Yeah.
You don't have necessarily the harmony or a melody necessarily, or you have two of those three elements, not necessarily all three. But it's also incorrect to say that rap is not music, right? In the general sense of the word.
Right.
It depends on how pedantic you want to get when we use the word music. And to say that Saturn, some of the stuff coming off of those radio transmissions coming off of Saturn aren't music, I don't know. I mean, you can play songs with old disc drives. You're too young to remember those, I think.
What do you mean?
You know, little 3.5-inch disc
yeah,
drives,
3.5
the 5
inch.
1/4.
I did.
Yeah.
I started off with 5 1/4.
Have you heard the Imperial March from them?
Yeah, those
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool. I think they did that with the CD player or something.
No, it was dry discs.
It was
Oh,
disc
was
drives,
it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
CD
then.
players don't make that much noise.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly. I've only seen it a couple times,
But you know, so I think it depends on how you want to define music as to whether or not those are. I think that you can definitely say that, you know, birdsong has a rhythm to it.
For sure.
You get enough of them together, there's a melody and there's kind of a harmony that goes with it when they all start singing. And if you get a whole bunch of different species of birds, you've got cacophony.
What about echolalia?
Don't know what that is.
That's the repetitiveness that you see in parrots.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I think it depends on the parrot, because I think the African gray parrot has been measured to have the intelligence level of a 3 or 5
Correct.
year old.
Well, a lot of even a parakeet can actually whistle, the Star Spangled Banner. So you do have the ability of animals to recreate music. Now, maybe he's talking it a step further, and as far as the ability to create music is something that is limited to humanity. But again, is that so really significant?
But is it really?
It's not. It's just
Yeah, I think if you say something like whale song, well, they're communicating. They're not singing or making music.
Right.
Sound just happens to be a very efficient form in water.
Right.
But what about a chimpanzee or ape or maybe the dolphins are singing? Or they are. They do have a level of intelligence. I think it depends on how you want to define create music.
Would you consider a woodpecker playing a percussion instrument?
Sure.
I would too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a very, very fast rhythm.
But
it's
it
quite
serves a
fast.
purpose. It's not entertainment. It is serving a purpose, but it has a rhythm. It has a beat. I'm not sure harmony, but it's still playing an instrument to accomplish some type of.
Yeah. And I think that's where you get a definition of music. Where you talk, the woodpecker may not be intentionally pecking at a particular rhythm.
Right.
That may just be the fastest way to get to the grub in the bark.
Right.
There's no rhythm, but maybe they are. Who knows what,
I've never talked to a woodpecker except for listen to Woody Woodpecker talk.
Yeah, and he's not exactly.
Yeah, he's not representative of the woodpeckers.
Woody would disagree.
Yeah.
All right, last topic.
Okay.
And I'm kind of pulling this one out. So he talks about scientific advancement and in terms of the evolution of man. He does go into a kind of a matrix type of scenario, and that's kind of interesting. But I don't want to talk about that too much. What I really want to talk about is as science advances. And it's a little bit of the God of the Gaps counter argument. As science advances, what's going to happen to religion? Because what we see happening is that gods get smaller.
Right.
We start pushing them out of those gray areas, which is angering a lot of religious people, the believers.
Right.
We see a movement of bringing the Bible back into the school, which we're going to talk about.
We are.
And you got to stay around for that. What are your thoughts? Going to go to you first, Rachel. Take it away.
Yeah.
Get Matrixy on me.
No, I mean, Matrix is fun to think about, like a neural link kind of. It's a little bit, to me, is kind of a scarier thought because of Futurama. It's like when they go to sleep at night, they get ads in their sleep. It just is mostly joking, of course, but. Yeah, I'm not
like
sure.
Advertisements?
Yeah, like in Futurama is a cartoon. So when they go to sleep, comedy, based cartoon, when they go to sleep, they get delivered ads because of they're like always connected and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, the guy was frozen for 1,000 years, comes out of it and gets ads in his sleep, and he was like, "What the hell?"
Like spam?
Essentially.
Okay.
Yeah, like QVC level ads and stuff.
Jim, let me give you a scenario. and this is kind of not really what we talked about, but kind of what I'm thinking about. Say that we have NASA that's exploring Mars and some of the smaller moons of Jupiter and Saturn, and we discover life. What's that going to do to the Bible believers? What's that going to be for religion?
Honestly, I think there'll be a group of them that will say God did it, because the facts that we have now don't change their mind on anything.
Right.
And it'll eventually just become part of. They'll work it into their beliefs somehow, because they're starting with the conclusion and then fitting everything they find into the conclusion, which is pseudoscience. It doesn't really work.
Like right now, I'm hearing arguments that the Bible mentions black holes, that mentions dark matter. So it's like they're appropriating all these new discoveries and shoehorning it into the Bible.
And it doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't.
But it does to them, and that's what's scary.
Yeah, it's a God of the gaps kind of argument.
Yeah.
Well, that's not even that's not really even
right. But it's basically, as we say, like, oh, this does not work for us. They just be like, oh, well, it. That may be natural, but then, this is supernatural.
How would you define God of the gaps?
Basically, I don't know, therefore God.
Okay.
Anytime you use that, I don't know how that works. We don't know how that works, therefore God.
Yep.
And it gets to be really, really problematic. It's much safer. And this is one of the things that I think every atheist has to get comfortable with, is saying, I don't know.
Sure.
And leaving off that last part, therefore God.
Yep.
Right.
And
therefore anything.
And that gets to be, religions do that. In the 1800s, the big thing was, we got to put lightning rods on everything that's tall, which, of course, were church steeples. The largest group of people who didn't want to put lightning rods on church steeples were the churches, because God would protect them. I don't know how lightning works, therefore God. We kind of know how, at that time, how lightning worked. We knew that lightning rods would keep buildings from burning down, because lightning wouldn't strike it. They'd strike the rods, be redirected in the ground. And now you don't see churches without lightning rods very often.
Right.
And when you do, it's usually built in, or they have some other protection against a lightning strike, if they have a tall steeple. And so that went away. And eventually it will too. I think the big problem is, and I think it was Bill Barr who recently said that he's fairly religious and upset because they're losing the war of ideas. They're being pushed out of the arena of ideas. And I think he's absolutely right. He is, because their ideas aren't very good.
No. They're kind of antiquated.
Well, the ideas are stem from questions, and we're finding the answers to those questions, and the answer is not God, or it's not some divine, or it's not the universe, or it's not good intentions, it's not Mother Earth. It is, reality-based evidence that we're seeing what these answers are, and I think that's what their problem is.
Yeah.
Well, and also, there is no need for God in any of our answers.
Correct.
Right.
Science.
Right. All righty.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on the interview that we want to discuss?
I think we covered most, if not all, the topics.
This is the point of my favorite part of the show, where I get to turn it over to Rachel, and we're going to talk about the Bible in school. So now we're having a lot of, especially here in Texas, we're having a lot of people that, and particularly our Christian friends, who want to put Bible in the school.
Right.
Take it away, Rachel. What do you got to say on that?
Yeah, to start off with, that's what we're seeing with that, what is it, Operation Blitz or whatever it's called?
Yes.
Yeah, where they're trying shotgun approach to lawsuits.
They already did win one.
Yeah,
they have a Moses put into our history book, saying that he was one of the influencers of the founding fathers.
Which is total,
So our Constitution is based upon the Ten Commandments. Is what you're trying to say. Okay.
And the bigger issue is that they can't keep it out of schools. People can take their Bibles all they want. They can pray all they want. They can do all they want, but we can't have, if I'm a teacher, I can't be like, hey, Derek, we're going to sit down, we're going to read the Bible, and We're going to have prayer time. And
So when I was in school,
led
and my
prayer.
religious and church were telling us that one of the secular humanists were coming in, the atheists were coming in and taking God out of the school, and that's just it's false.
Patently false.
That's false
yeah.
because again, we can still pray. We can still, during recess, we could read our Bible. We could talk about God. As a teacher, can't do it.
That's the
what
thing.
it is.
Yeah, a teacher or an authority like that can't for sure. But
they want Bible. They want the Bible.
They
to be
want the
taught
Bible in. They definitely
science.
want. Right. They want that. They want
Or
the
even sex
teach
ed.
the
probably
controversy. Well, you never know.
You never know.
As this is what we wanted to point out in this segment, where we're
point
bring
out.
up some Bible verses that are a little unsavory,
Racy?
racy.
Touchy?
Little-
Would it offend my virginity in my ears?
Yes, I think this one would for sure.
Can somebody have virginity in their ears?
They can.
I do.
Yeah. I don't know. My ears ring. Maybe that's virginity. I don't even know what virginity is.
It's what I have.
It's what you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, so Ezekiel chapter 23, starting in verse 19, verse 20 gets quoted day in and day out, left and right. But if you go back one little verse or whatever, so 23:19, Ezekiel 23:19. Yet she increased her whoring, remembering the days of her youth, when she played the whore in the land of Egypt, and lusted after her lovers there, whose members were like those of donkeys, and whose emissions were like that of horses.
Where was this? In Egypt?
This was apparently, well, no, I don't know exactly where she was. I would have to.
She was in Egypt. She's no longer in Egypt.
She was a whore in Egypt.
That's where the donkeys were?
A whore.
No,
That's where her lovers were, who had members the size of donkeys and emissions like that of horses.
You know what I say to that? La la.
Yeah, see? And we haven't even got to the crazier
There's
parts.
more?
Not really. I
Oh
mean,
my
that's
God.
that's the worst of it. But yeah, as I was joking before, I'm all for teaching high schoolers and middle schoolers.
I can't imagine that coming out of Mrs. Robinson's mouth.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
I can see it from a couple of high school teachers that I had because they were a bit on the mean side, and there's of course the others were a lot on the religious side. But yeah, I didn't nothing like that.
Would that be taught in like human anatomy?
I think you would have to incorporate it into physical sciences, human anatomy,
Sex ed.
sex ed. Yeah, because and then you're going to have little Johnny ask like, well, why would you lust after emissions from a horse? And then the teacher has to explain like, well,
I'd be like, Miss, what are emissions?
that's when
that was
smoke
rhetorical.
comes out of your
That was
tailpipe in your
rhetorical.
car. Yeah. Yeah. Explain to the, 7th grader or the 8th grader that, like, well, if you like the spunk, you would want spunk from the horses. It's just
Okay, Spunky.
Spunky Brewster over here. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm all for it, but I think it's to try to say this is the good book and that's what we should have in classrooms and that's not even the worst of it. That's just
not the most ethical
X-rated.
problem.
Yeah, it's not-
There's killing and dashing babies on the rocks to kill them, stabbing mothers in the
And you
womb.
know what? I honestly don't have a problem with the Bible being taught in school.
No,
as long
for
as
sure.
It's taught
Comparative
in the
religion.
appropriate places where it's being
Fiction.
literature.
Well, literature, compared religion class or something like that. But
even if they're elective religious classes, I'm fine
Well,
with
they can already do study the Bible in a comparative religion class.
Yeah.
they can, yeah. I'm the only reason I'm opposed to that right at this particular second, and I'm not really opposed to it, is because I can't see some of my religious teachers from my youth ignore the comparative part of the religion class and just teach this.
Yeah.
And that's a big problem in my eyes.
I went to college, and I went to a Catholic college, and we had Bible electives that we had to take.
Right.
And one of the problems I had with one of this particular teacher was that she would read daily affirmations from the Bible, and really what it was everything she read, basically everything good in your life that you do good, everything you accomplish is because of God. Any failing is either because of you or your a lack of faith or submitting to the devil type thing. It was like,
I want to submit to the devil. I think he's good at that.
I mean, like, how do we develop self-esteem? Well, anyways, all right.
Sorry.
Anything else?
No, that's fine. We can close it.
All right.
would
Let's
prefer
close the
closing it.
Bible.
Just slam that sucker shut.
Thank you for watching and tuning in. Please
Yeah,
like
for sure.
and subscribe and join us in the conversation. If we said something that piqued your interest, please comment. If we said something that angered you, please comment and
sure.
join in the conversation. Take care. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Right.